Welcome to Magical Moments, and I'm your host, Alena Chapman. And I'll tell you, it is time. It is so time for that ease and flow in our lives. And today is an Ask Alena day, which is perfect, absolutely perfect, guys, because I get to hear your questions, which are so incredibly in line with how to gain that ease and flow in your life. So I always say you guys are brilliant. You really are. And I'm really happy that you are sending in questions, because then I know what to do as far as topics that will help you instead of just shooting in the dark. So thank you. So let's get started on this. I'm going to read. I got two questions here that are very similar, which creates this whole show. And the first one is, how do you keep a healthy mindset during turbulent times? Well, that's a very perfect timing kind of question with everything we're going through. And the second question is very aligned with that. Alena, is happiness solely my responsibility? Yes. Yes, it is, hon. But I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that because, now I just put the whole plate in your lap, and now what do you do with it, right? So let's just talk about this a little bit. And I really had to think, because I wanted to give you really good advice. I understand what we're going through now more than anything. I do understand that this time is, well, I see it as a miraculous time. But do I also see how other people are losing a lot of hope? Yes. My gosh, guys, we have gone through how many years of drama? It doesn't matter what your political liking is, but it's been drama every day for almost 3-4 years now. That's a lot. 4 or 5 years. Yeah, a lot of years. Never in all of history have we had this many years of constant waking up in the morning not knowing what shoe is going to fall. Never. So first of all, you've got to realize that we're living through an incredible time, and our mind has been programmed because of all the drama to expect drama. So we've got to kind of turn that back. I understand this topic so much only because I grew up in this. I grew up in this way. I mean, I got to be really frank. You guys all made me kind of sit back and really take stock of why I am the way I am. What has had me want to open up and live by my soul? What was it that made me see that my life was so unhappy for a short period of time and have the power to change it, right? So I had to start looking back, and I went way back to like my childhood. And what spurred this was that before my brother passed, I had a conversation with him, and we were talking about our growing up years. Now, my brother is only 3 years younger than me, or was only 3 years younger than me. And I found that when I spoke about how I grew up, and he spoke about how he grew up, it's like we lived in different households. He had a totally different experience of our family life than I did. Totally different. And it guided his life in a different direction than mine went. He tended to be very pessimistic. He tended to had a lot of chips on his shoulders. Yeah. And me, I don't know. I felt like I can do whatever I really want in my life. I just have to work for it. I'm going to open the doors that I want to open. I am going to try things. I see the silver lining, which is, you think that's an optimist? No, hon, that's a trained mind that has learned how to see the perception of the opportunity in every crisis, to see where you can move forward in every crisis, which is a very handy thing to have, but you got to train your mind for it. My brother didn't get that experience. I did. And I got one really interesting thing that I learned. From the time I was able to ride my bike, even before that, I would hide out in my room. I learned what I was going to allow myself to put up with and what I wasn't going to allow myself to put up with. So if my mom was going to yell at me, because she always was yelling at me, I was going to not be around her. I was not, this is like at a young age, I was just not going to deal with that. I go in my room and play with my stuffed animals when I was 3, or I go and play with my friends. When I got older and I could ride my bike, you did not see me. I was with my friends on another street and exploring the world. My brother stayed home. So he experienced that experience. I experienced freedom. And there's something to this. When I only had $200 in my pocket, and I saw that I was almost on the homeless line, I said, nope, that's not for me. That's it. Final. No, that's not for me. That means my mindset is not going to stay there. That means I'm not going to allow this situation. Now, how does that help us in creating the happiness during these times? It's very, very interesting. I do understand politics are my hobby. It has always been my hobby. I find it totally fascinating how governments work, how people work, that's why I do what I do, right? So, yes, I see the drama. And at first, I was getting right in there, watching the tweets, watching the press. And then I thought, wait a minute. There's a lot here going on that we don't even understand. And I had to understand it on the spiritual level. I understood from an early time, from even when Trump was elected, that we were starting to reveal what was behind the curtain. We were starting to see why things weren't stable. We have seen our government now in turmoil in so many ways. We've lost control of the so-called control we thought we had of the world, which could be a good thing, could not be a good thing. We see that there are a lot of countries that do not think of us as very wonderful and are forming their own alliance because of it. Well, that should be no surprise, right? We're seeing that things aren't working. We're seeing people being hurt. We're being pushed by the press and by newscasts and even some spiritual leaders that this turmoil is good against evil and all this other stuff. Stop. Stop. We're creating an anger in ourselves that we don't even know why we're angry. We're creating something that's insurmountable that we cannot control, we feel. And I'll tell you what, when you stay in that world, that not the world of the world, the physical world, but the world of listening to every newscast, feeding on that drama in your life. Maybe you even have drama in your family. Maybe you have drama on your job. A lot of people are experiencing it, not only from the news, but it's transpiring into even going to the grocery store because people are honking horns at you. People are pushing you out of lanes. People are there's an anger, a mass consciousness anger going on right now, and a depression. So how do we change that for ourselves? All right. So I wrote down a few things that I think are important for you to start. And the first thing I want to say, and the one thing I have found is the most important thing, power. There is an extreme, wonderful feeling of power when you take control of your happiness, your perception, and your life. There is this, you feel like you can conquer it. You got this. So that's what we're going to develop, because without that, we just toss in the wind to every drama that comes. And I have a quote for you by a really cool guy, Robert Prost. He says, accept no one's definition of your life. Define yourself. And that's what it comes down to. It's defining yourself. It is, who am I in this crazy world that's being created? And you know what's really funny? Once you gain control of yourself and your happiness, and you take care of you and how you're feeling, it's really funny. When you change that perception, then all of a sudden you see ways that you can make this world a better place. Even though it's a worldwide thing, you have the power to make it a better place. And if you come from the other place, this anger, this hopelessness, this being tossed in the wind of drama, you can't find that. All right. It sounds so funny. In order to make the world a better place and be better in the world, you have to pull out of the world and find your own contentment and happiness. Okay? So the things I am going to talk about, you're actually going to pull back from everything, because you have to know yourself, and you have to build it within yourself, because your world is within yourself. So let's talk a little bit about this. First of all, there's a decision. And like I talked a little bit above or before, was the decision that this is not where I want to live. And you have to make a decision. Do I want to live being tossed to every drama that's being created that day? Or do I not accept it? And if you choose not to accept it, then you're going to start to pick and choose what you listen to. You're going to start not to have to feel like you got to get on your phone the first time, every first minute when you wake up. You're going to turn off the news once in a while, maybe watch it once or twice a week instead of every day. You're going to allow yourself time to breathe and understand what you can control at this moment and what you can't control at this moment. Okay? And that's a big decision, because without that decision, you're just going to stay a victim to whatever the world is presenting you. And you can't stay a victim if you want to take control. Okay? It's time to graduate from that. You can't stay a victim in anything forever. You got to take some control. All right, so you either make the decision or you don't. But when you start to make that decision, now you have something to work with. Now, one things I do when I feel like I am in a place of when life is really not presenting me the wonderful lemon meringue pie I want. Let's put it that way, okay? And I'm just getting a lot of bad lemons and I can't do anything with them. And when that happens, I will pull in and I will say, this really stinks. I think I'm going to start taking care of just fill my world with the beauty I want to see. Fill my world with the fun I want to see. And I am going to fill my world with the people, the friendships that I want to see. I am going to start watching things and podcasts and things that fill my heart with hope. And I am going to not have that world over there that is so awful impede on this right this moment. I am going to feed myself with everything that I want to feed myself with, that feels good, that I want to create. And then I will address the chaos of this other place. But here's the thing. Once you do that, your perception starts to change. And when your perception starts to change, that awfulness over there will change also. It's like I've gone through 2 divorces in my life. Both of them were bad. They were just not nice divorces. I don't know why that happens. I'm probably the common denominator in that, since there's 2 and I was in it. But we're going to not do that anymore. But the thing is, they were bad divorces. And the second one was really bad. So what did I have to do? It was a real bad divorce that was affecting my boys and myself. And it got to a point that I had to make a decision. Was I going to live in this drama, this constant, horrible world of dog eat dog and terrible. It was just awful. I can't, it was like having a war at home instead of in another country. It was really, really bad. And I just had to, I tell you guys, I sat down one night and I said, I saw how it was affecting my boys. They were young. My youngest was 5. My oldest was 9. They were young. And I thought, oh my God, they're going to grow up just having divorce after divorce because that's what they're living. These horrid, terrible times between two people. How can I create a world that when they look back when they're 30 or 40 and they say my childhood, they see safety, they see security, they see love, they see support from one another, they see fun. How can I create that world? And I sat in my bed and I wrote out, first I did like what I call spirit writing, and I just started writing. What was it? I titled it, how do I want to create a world for my children? And I just started writing, and I let it all just rip out of me from the subconscious mind. And then from that, I wrote down 3 or 4, well, actually it was 5 goals that I was going to create for my children. And I was going to create that world for them. And I stepped into that world with them. So like we'd go outside on a day like Saturday morning and just have a snowball fight in the winter. We had so much fun. And sledding. And I made the world more about all of us being a team. To this day, we have a group text. To this day, my boys are calling each other and sending cool quotes or funny things to each other. And when one of them has a test, the other 2 will say, hey, do a great job. I've built that world. Okay? But first, I had to do the self-reflection. I had to build the beauty around me. I had to do the readings that lifted up my heart. I got a book of poetry from Maya Angelou because I love her poetry and I love her message. So I read that every night. I read As a Man Thinketh. I read things that made me laugh, like the Bell Jar and Wings of Invention. Those are wonderful books that are very uplifting. I did things that gave me power. I put flowers in my house. I know that sounds like so little, but it's not. Every time you look at those flowers, it just lifts you. I put flowers everywhere. I played music. I happen to love Baroque music. Okay, and you're saying, what's Baroque music? It's music like the about 1450 to 1750 time-wise. And it's like Bach and, Vivaldi, okay? And it's very fast-paced and all the lines are moving differently. And it's just, I just love it. And I would play that through the house. Everything was to build the beauty in my world. I put candles all over the place. And I played in my garden. These are the things that bring me real joy. And it started to build a world of security. And then I started to venture out into different groups for friends, or I called friends from all over the world and just made friendships. These are the things you need to do. And then the last thing is self-care. Do the meditations, look inside. Because inside you're going to find that you have the answers. When you start to wake yourself up from this nightmare we're living in, you'll see that this nightmare is an opportunity. You'll see that this is not this horrible thing we're going into, but a chance for us to change what was wrong. It's an opportunity for all of us to start to understand that we can make a government. Believe it or not, we can make a government for the people, by the people again. We really do have that opportunity right now. We have the opportunity to reach out and make friends with people in other countries. We have a time to become self-reliant. We have a time to start a business that can help other people. We have a time to better our families, to become stronger. So we can either choose to just get so upset about gas prices, which, yeah, it doesn't make me happy either. I'm doing a lot of traveling by car. I've seen mine go up too, just like everyone else. And I can just be depressed about that, or I can do the things to build my world where that gas price, yeah, that's a problem. But you know what? I'm not going to let it eat at me because I see that there's a bigger opportunity here that I might take. Every person who really does something in this life does this. They take care of themselves. They go inside and they take care of themselves, open their minds up, and then wham, bam, instead of getting swallowed up in the drama, they find solutions to better everyone's life. This is what a true innovator, inventor does. And it's time for us to realize that we have to do what we can to up our own world. We can't help everyone in the world. Well, maybe we can. Maybe you'll come up with a way. But you can't do it if you're getting swallowed up by everything else that's being thrown at you as drama. You got to let it go. And I really think that this is possible. And I had an idea. And I thought, maybe it's time. If you guys are all asking these questions, I would love for you to let me know through the text. And I know that one of these came in by an email. So you can send it into the studio. And the number is 468. What is the number, Kayla, my producer? 46862. Let me know if you're interested in this. What I want to do is form a nice group that meets Saturday mornings in the Fort Wayne area, Fort Wayne, Indiana. And if you are interested, and even if you don't live close, we can dial you in by Zoom. That is not a problem. But if you're interested in being in this group, and this group would be all about changing our perception, seeing opportunity, forming new friendships that are all on that positive, take back their control and build their lives for 1 hour, and we'll run it for 6 weeks, okay? And if we want to continue it, we'll continue it. And this would be a wonderful chance for you to really step forward into creating your world, really stepping forward in feeling better about yourself and the world, getting centered again, getting where you feel like you're in control and there's hope. So if you're interested, give a text, 46862. I think I finally got it in my memory. And let's do that. Now, I'd love to do this free. I cannot. I'm not able to do that at this point. But I am making it extremely cheap. So if you can do $75 for every weekend that we meet, and that's really nothing, then let's do it. And let me know. And I will form this, and we will have a place, and we will have fun. Who knows, the friends you'll form in this, you'll grow together. You'll make some fun in between those little times we meet. You might even find that you guys get together. Maybe I'll come too. And we'll go like hiking or something. Do fun things in our lives. It is time for us to celebrate our own life. And from there, we can see how to help the world. One way that you can start right now to help the world, which is really needed more than anything else on this physical plane, is that you can get on my YouTube channel, because there's going to be a video that I'm putting up that will help you just stop, breathe, put your hand on your heart, relax, take deep breaths, let the shoulders fall, let your mind just get quiet. Your hand is still on your heart. And then allow yourself to feel divine love from God, the universe, from angels, whatever your belief system is. Allow it to come down on you. And then with your hand still on your heart, all that love you are receiving, see it also spread around the whole world. A beautiful blanket of love, of mass consciousness, of pure, unconditional love that hits every single soul and life on this planet. And allow it to just seep down into people and the earth to create an environment of higher thinking, loving one another, at least having tolerance, and building a beautiful world. Okay? Just doing that once a time, every day, will help you feel more into control. And believe it or not, guys, I have seen miracles. And when people all get together and do this, if we can get enough people to just do this one act, it's just one act, you can change the whole vibration of this world. I have seen it change events in my life just by doing that. So let's start with that. And again, text us at 46862 if you're interested in building this incredible group with me, because I think it's time.